Alright, hello children. You're welcome once again for this lesson. I'm your teacher, Nabor Richards. We're still looking at our saturated system. And remember last time I left you some little work. Before we look at that, today we are going to look at something called diseases of the saturated system, which I'm very sure some of you have got an idea about. But I want you first of all settle down. This phone should be in silence. We must have an open mindset in our learning. We must learn to listen. We learn and be positive and constructive when you're learning. And above all that, we must be responsible for our own learning. So whatever you're doing, keep it aside, concentrate, and we begin off with our lesson. Fine. 2 days ago, I mentioned that we are going to look at the saturated system, the disease of the saturated system. Last time, remember, we are looking at so many things. I left with some little activity, which you did. So let us begin with that. I left with those 4 questions. As you can see them, we are looking at the blood groups, remember? So the first question was mentioned the 4 blood groups. So you are going to get your pen and you mark yourself. So did you mention A, blood group B, blood group AB, blood group O? If you got right, put a tick. Question number 2, which blood group is referred as a universal donor? And that was blood group O. We looked at that. So this one can donate blood to all other blood groups, but can only receive from blood group O. That's right, if you got right. Question 3, why is blood tested before transfusion? Why is blood tested before transfusion? And the answers, check. Did you pass it? The answers I have here, 1, to prevent the spread of germs. 2, to know one's blood group. If you got right, put a tick with that. And the last question was, state one way you can increase the volume of blood circulation. If you want more blood in circulation, what should you do? Of course, we looked at so many ways of increasing blood in our body. I've only given one answer here. One was doing regular physical body exercise. We also talked about taking enough fluids. We talked about eating a balanced diet, taking iron tablets and all that. So if you got all the 4 questions, bravo, and that's wonderful. So that's excellent. So today we are going to look at something. I've already told something interesting. So let's get started. At the end of this lesson, we must be knowing at least 3 diseases which affect this system, which we are looking at. And that's specifically which affect blood. 2, we are going to look at particularly one disease, and that is HIV/AIDS. So you must be knowing, mentioning the ways AIDS spreads. And then 3, at the end of the lesson, you must be able to mention for me any 4 signs or symptoms of HIV/AIDS. And last but not least, to suggest ways you can prevent HIV/AIDS. I know you know about this disease, you learned about it in your previous classes. Peer 3, I know you talked about it. And I'm very sure you know everything about it. But we are going to add in something small about it. And 2, we shall see how does it affect the saturated system exactly. And why do we call it saturated disease? Right. So we are saying here that diseases of the saturated system, we are going to classify them into 3. Those which affect blood, those which affect the heart, and those which are hereditary. Could you think of any of those diseases we're talking about? There are those which affect blood. Of course, when I talk about blood, they affect the components of blood exactly. Remember those components? The white blood cells, the red blood cells, plasma, and the platelets. Then 2, those which affect the heart. I know our heart is a delicate organ, but there are some diseases which can affect it. Then there are those diseases which are hereditary, which are passed on from our parents to us. So which are those ones? Those are the ones we are going to be looking at. So let us settle down. Our first question. Can you mention any disease which may affect blood? Think of any disease which you think affects your blood. All right. Let's check if you're right. Could you be having among any of these one here? The first one is HIV/AIDS. Then we have malaria. We have anemia. We have sickle cell anemia. We have another disease called leukemia. Then we have another one called hypertension. These are basically among the few diseases which affect our blood. And specifically, today we are looking at something called HIV/AIDS. Could you be knowing, could you be remembering what AIDS is? And 2, could you be knowing what causes it? Probably also, could you be knowing how it affects the blood? Fine. Let's check if you're right. So our AIDS disease is here. AIDS stands for acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome. To acquire means to get. How do we get this disease? Immune is our defense system, what protects our body from infection. Deficiency is lack. And then syndrome would mean a group of signs and symptoms. So it's a collective thing. It's not just one disease as you may think of. Then AIDS, we are saying that this AIDS is caused by a virus. This virus is what we call HIV. And NF4 stands for the human immune deficiency virus. So we are going to see how does one get this virus and so on. This virus attacks the white blood cells. Could you have got that one now? I told you that this disease is a saturated disease and it affects blood. So you can see it attacks the white blood cells. And how does it attack it? After attacking the white blood cells, this white blood cell helps us to protect us from infection. It destroys the defense system of the body. And this AIDS sufferer is unable to protect himself or herself from various infections, various diseases. So once you get this virus, it becomes very difficult for you to defend yourself against several infections because the white blood cells, our defense system, our soldiers have been destroyed completely and also. So it becomes vulnerable, the body becomes vulnerable for any other infection and eventually become weak and weak and weak until when you die. It's very bad. Now this AIDS basically is a group of signs and symptoms that come when HIV has destroyed the immune system. You should find out that you don't have AIDS unless you have shown those signs and symptoms, as we have going to see later on. So don't start pointing at people and say, this person has got AIDS because of ABCDW. Right? So we don't have that. So what are the signs which come as a result of this virus attacking somebody? So we're going to have a look at some of these signs. Could you think of some of these signs which attack somebody because of this infection? I know some of you are thinking about some of them. I know. Think. Write for me only 2 on the paper. Let's check if you're right. Now, check your points. Could you be having prolonged dry cough? The person has got HIV will develop a prolonged dry cough. This is a chronic cough, which is long-lasting. Does not come to an end. Does not cure. You stay with it until when a person. 2, widespread itching and skin rash. You develop a rash on your skin. 3, you have prolonged diarrhea. Do you remember what diarrhea is? I know learned about it in P3. That frequent passing out of waterless stool. It's going to be prolonged every now and then you are in the toilet. Then also there's another sign here. Oral thrush. Oral thrush, I know something new. It's a white coating that develops in your mouth. This is a white thing that develops in somebody who has got HIV/AIDS. I'm not saying that you have it. Then 4, somebody has got persistent fever. This fever is on and off. It comes, it goes, comes, it goes. Then there's also general body weakness. The person who has got HIV is generally weak because of this infection, this type. Then this person also loses appetite, doesn't want to eat. And also, he sweats a lot at night. Some of you could be now worried. I sweat a lot at night. You don't have HIV. Then there's also another disease called Herpes zoster. In international, we call it TCP. It's an inflammation of the skin, whereby as if you look as if you have been scalded, and it goes around your body as if you have a belt. That's why they call it TCP. Sometimes it goes around the stomach. Sometimes it goes around the face. It can even go in the other part of the body. That's why they call it TCP. So if you happen to see any of these signs here, could be you be having HIV/AIDS. But does not necessarily mean that you have it. Because not all these signs here are signs of so many other infections. So many other infections. So don't say, I think that person has got HIV. No. We are all of us have suffered from some of these things here. We have all prolonged diarrhea. We've ever got a skin rash because of certain diseases like scabies. You have ever got a cough, but does not necessarily mean you have got HIV. So let's have a look at some of the few things there. I know you could be scared. Now, say, so when you develop HIV/AIDS, you are going to lose weight. You see my person here, my friend here, is bedridden. The weight is gone completely. Look at the skin rash. On the other side, you develop a rash all over the body, not only on the leg. but all over the body. So you are going to remain look like this exactly. All the way to go, you actually look like a skeleton by the time you pass on. So please, my children, take care of that disease. It's a very, very dangerous disease. Very, very dangerous disease. Now, how does one get this virus exactly? We need to know the ways. How does one get the virus? Is it by eating food? Is it by playing bad games? Can you think of ways somebody can get this virus? Let's check if you're right. Now, basically, there are about 4 main ways we get this virus. The first one, which is the the major way somebody gets HIV, is through sexual contacts. That is by having unprotected sex with infected person. Of course, I know for your young children, they don't engage in such sexual acts. So don't even think of that. Then that's the main way somebody gets the virus. The second one is through transfusion of infected blood. Because sometimes we may need blood, as we saw earlier, sometime back. So sometimes the blood, if not screened properly, you may get a germ. And this germ could be carrying this virus. So that's another way you can get the virus. Then the third way is from infected mothers to their unborn babies during birth. And this is what we call MCT. And that MCT means mother to child transmission. So we can get this virus, they can be passed on from the mother who's infected to the unborn baby. That is at birth, especially when they are cutting the umbilical cord. We'll be looking at that one later on in term 3, how we cut what we mean by the umbilical cord. Then we can also get the virus by sharing skin piercing instruments with the infected person. Things of like needles, things like razor blades, and the likes. If those things are contaminated with the virus and you happen to use them, you can also get them. So these are some of the few ways one can get the virus. However, we have other ways this virus can be passed on. These are traditional things. Talk about something like inheritance of widows. In some cultures, if the person passes on, they will force you to marry that person. That's inheriting a widow. And who knows? This person would have died of HIV/AIDS, and now they are going to force you that one to become your wife or your husband. So you also get the virus. Then 2, carrying out circumcision with using one cutting instrument on several people. Can you think of that tribe which circumcises people? I know you have the Gisus in Mbale. We have got the Sabines. They also do that kind of thing. Now, some of the people, if they do it in a crude way, they could pass on the virus to others, especially if you are using one knife to cut several people there. So you could be passing on the virus. Then also you have got body tattooing. People like tattooing their bodies. They put all kinds of marks on their face and whatnot. Remember, if you're using those instruments which are contaminated with the virus, you get the virus. So my children, take care. I don't want you to die when you're still young. Because this disease here, called HIV, it has no cure completely. As per now, there's no cure for HIV/AIDS. So it's just a question of taking care of ourselves, protecting ourselves, then we shall fight it. Now, can you think of ways you can protect yourself from HIV/AIDS? Having looked at the disease which has no cure, having seen the ways you can prevent and we can acquire it. Now, how do you prevent this disease here? Fine. Let's check whether I've got the right points. Now, in the absence of a cure, there's need to develop a very good life skill. Read for me the first one. I can see. Tells us to abstain from sex. That's very important for you children. You need to abstain from sex until when you are mature enough, you have finished your school, get married. So don't think of anything called sex whatsoever. And that's the best way you can protect yourself from HIV/AIDS as children. Don't think of that, my children. The second way is basically for married people, daddy and mommy. They need to be very faithful to each other. So be faithful to your partner. One man, one wife. For those who are Muslims, fine. If you have got 4, please stick to those 4. Don't think of moving up and down. So be faithful to those partner or partners. Then 3, using a condom. For those who are sexually active, I know some youth out there are sexually active. It's advisable for them to use a condom if they are going to engage into sexual contacts. And basically, these are going to be our ABC mode. Then there's also screening of blood before transfusion. Before the blood is given to somebody, before you see blood from somebody, please ensure that the blood is screened so that it's free from this virus. And then also, we should avoid sharing skin piercing instrument with infected person. I know like sharing things like razor blades or kind of thing. Please avoid those kind of things. But above all that, children, let us abstain from sex. We are going to remain safe until. So I thank you for being very good children. I know you are going to take care of yourself. You are going to be very, very, very careful with this disease. Don't forget, we also have COVID, which is disturbing us in the country of late. So I want you to remain safe. You need to always do the right thing, being advised to us by the government. Take these SOPs and remain safe. I know you are safe. That's why God protected up this time. So thank you for being very good children. But before I leave you, I'm leaving you some few questions there you're going to answer for me. As you can see them, write AIDS in full. I know you've already learned about that. 2, what causes it? And then 3, which component of blood is destroyed by this disease? And then lastly, how can a P6 child protect him or herself against HIV/AIDS? So thank you for being good children. Take care and stay safe.